Don't forget to like and subscribe to Jolie Knots Crochet. Share with your friends. Hit that little notification bell so you can get notified when new patterns release. All our videos are available in left and right-handed tutorials.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal and today we are going to be making this boho summer cardigan. Now this cardigan is going to come in a toddler size, a child size, and also adult sizes all the way up to 5 extra large. The customization for this pattern is really simple. So if you're taller, you would just make your starting chain longer, and I'll explain to you exactly how to do that in the pattern. There will be a link to the written pattern below in the description box. And if you are on Facebook or Instagram, follow me at Jolie Knots Crochet. If you are on Facebook, join the Jolie Knots Crochet community and show us what you've created. Now, the way that we are going to work this, I want to show you first, is we are going to be starting from the long end, and this is going to be where your shoulder sits. Okay, so we're going to be working this whole part, making the front panel. And then what we're going to do is when we're working up towards the middle, we'll stop at a certain point right there in the middle as well, creating one panel for the front, continuing on with our pattern, and then adding again to create another long side for the other end. So this is going to be your back side. This is going to be your neckline, and our rows are going to be vertical rows, and these two will then be your front left and right panels. We'll fold it in half and seam up partially together here, leaving a space open on the bottom and leaving a space open for the arms. Now this is pretty oversized. It's really wide, so ideally where your arm ends here is going to be just a little bit above your elbow, a couple of inches above your elbow. If you want it to be wider, then you can of course go up a size, as all adult sizes are going to have the same foundation starting chain. And like I said, you can customize that to make it either longer or shorter depending on the height and what is necessary for you. Okay, so the yarn that I used for my project, I used the cream colored one here, and this is what I have left of my 5th skein. These are 246 yards, and I did a size large, extra large, and have this much left over of the 5th. So just about 1,200 yards or so, a little bit less or more depending on if you customize. This yarn is the ZZ Twist yarn. It is a 4-weight yarn. I would consider it a lighter 4-weight yarn, so you can use a size 3 yarn if you like. What is really important is that you want to make sure that it's not just a fluffy yarn, that it's going to be having a nice drape to it, because the hang makes it sit over your shoulders and forming to your arms a little bit better. So just make sure that you have a good choice in yarn if you choose not to use this ZZ Twist. Now these come in 3.5 ounces, 246 yards. Like I said, it is a medium 4-weight yarn. The recommended hook size for this one is a 6 millimeter. We're going to be using a 5.5 millimeter hook for this project. Okay, it is also a 100% acrylic yarn. This is machine washable and dryable. Now, of course, you have the option to leave off the fringe and even make yours longer if you like. I like to keep my patterns pretty customizable for everyone to be able to, create what they want to create. The amount of yarn that you are going to need for the size that you're looking for, I will go ahead and scroll up on the screen. Now, as far as the children's sizes, it's pretty much kind of like a one size fits all for any toddler size up to size 5. And for a child, medium/large size, they're going to be about the same. Now, if your child is wearing an extra large, you're just going to want to go up to an adult size small. Okay, so let me show you how to get started on this. Now, what we're going to do to get started, I'll go ahead and leave your starting foundation single crochet number, again, scrolling on the screen. And if you are going to choose to customize the length of your cardigan, you are going to make sure to add or subtract in multiples of 2, ending in an odd number. So for example, the small child size is 101 foundation single crochets. Now, if you have if you want yours to be longer, then you would go 103, 105, such as that. So adding or subtracting in multiples of 2. Okay, so we're starting with foundation single crochets. First thing you're going to do is chain 2. Now, you can use a chain if you like. You're going to want to go up a hook size, but I find the drape on the foundation single crochet is much nicer. So, not counting this first chain near your hook, going into the first chain that you created, we are going to go into that chain and draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through only one loop, and now you should have 2 loops on your hook. And then you'll yarn over and go through both. Now for the second one, you see these 2 loops that's your single crochet. This is your single crochet that we just created here. And not counting either of these 2 loops, you're going to go into the loop underneath it. There are 3 steps to a foundation single crochet. So this is your first step, to draw up a loop. Yarn over, pull through one loop, that's step 2. Yarn over, pull through both loops. That's step 3. Again, not either of these loops here, but the loop right underneath that. Go in there, yarn over, drop a loop, that's step 1. Yarn over, drop a loop, that is step 2. Yarn over and go through both loops, that's step 3. We now have 1, 2, 3 foundation single crochets. So the top of your stitch should look exactly the same as any stitch. Okay, moving right along, going into the loop on the bottom, not the 2 that are just underneath your yarn under this one. You've got this loop here, there's those 2 on the top. We're going into the one on the bottom. 1, 2, 3 through both loops. 1, 2, 3. And you're just going to keep doing that until you get to the foundation single crochets that are called for your size. Now keep in mind that we are working this in long rows. So half of your length, we're working this one that's going to be all the way from the back all the way to the front. So right around the halfway part is where it's going to be hanging over your shoulder. And that's the way you'll know exactly how much you want to customize, if at all. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So your foundation single crochet row is going to have an odd number. Now I am not going to make a full size cardigan. I'm going to make a small, maybe somewhat doll-sized cardigan. But I want to show you how to do the patterns. It's a really simple 4-row repeat. Go ahead and finish out your foundation single crochet row, and I'll meet you to get started on row 2. Okay, so I went with 21 foundation single crochets. That's my odd number. Okay, so getting started on what we're going to do at the beginning of each row is we're going to stack single crochets in order to create our double crochets and our treble crochets. So how we're going to do that is you are going to turn your work, and without chaining one, you're going to go right into the V of the stitch. So we're going through both loops of the top and creating a single crochet. Super simple, just a single crochet. And now we have these 2 front loops of our single crochet. So not going through both loops, going on the inside, what you're working towards, you'll skip that first like top loop, and then you'll go into that second loop and create another single crochet. And that is a stacked double crochet. So it's 2 single crochets on top of each other. The next thing we're going to do is put a double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and another double crochet into the stitch after that. And that's what you're going to repeat to the end. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet. So for each row that we work our double crochets and our treble crochets, you will have 2 in the beginning as well as 2 at the end, and then you'll be skipping in between. Okay? Skip 1, double crochet. Okay, so we worked that to the end. I now have 3 stitches left. 1, 2, 3. Your first foundation single crochet might be kind of slanted a little bit, but you're going to skip the next stitch and then double crochet into the last 2 stitches. So like I said, you'll have 2 double crochets at the end and the beginning. That's the end of your first row. Now row 2 is super simple. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to half double crochet into every stitch and every chain space all the way down. Your beginning stitch count is your foundation single crochet, and you should have the same amount of stitches for all of your rows up until we get to the neckline. We're not increasing, we're not decreasing. So just half double crocheting into every double crochet and every chain space. And this is what the end of your second row should look like. And of course, you know, like I said, yours will be much, much larger than mine. I'm just doing mine small so you can see exactly how it works out. Getting started on row 3, we're going to do a stacked treble crochet. So it was the same as the stacked double, only we're doing it 3 times. We're stacking 3 single crochets. So going into both loops, creating a single crochet. Now going into the side loop of your single crochet, not this one on the top, but the one on the side. And we're going to create a single crochet that way. And then one more time. And that's a stacked treble crochet. Now you're going to yarn over twice and put a treble crochet into the very next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, treble crochet into the next. Chain 1 all the way down to the end, and we'll end with 2 treble crochets into the last 2 stitches. All right, here I am at the end. I have 3 stitches left. I'm chaining 1, skipping 1, and into my last 2 stitches, placing a treble crochet into each stitch. And here's what your work should look like so far. Okay, so now that we've completed row 3, row 4 is going to be a repeat of row 2. So you'll chain 1, turn your work, and half double crochet into every single stitch and chain space. So in all of your treble crochets and all of your chain spaces all the way down. So I am going to leave on the screen for the sizes that are available, how many times you should have rows 1 and all the way through row 4. So row 1 is your double crochet row, row 2 is your half double crochet, row 3 is your treble crochet, and row 4 is your half double crochet again. So on the screen you're going to see how many full repeats of each of these repeats, rows 1 through 4, you are going to have for your size. So after you have all of your repeats that you need for your size, every size, no matter what size, is going to repeat row 1 and row 2. So remember, this is one side of your panel. This is halfway. It's going to be hanging on your shoulder. And before we get to your neckline, where we're going to be doing that partial, before we get to your neckline, where we're going to do that partial row here, everyone is going to end their first side of the panel with a row 1 and a row 2. So remember, row 1 is starting with a stacked double crochet. Not chaining 1, going into your stitch, making a single crochet, and then making a single crochet into this inside loop right here. Pulling through that just one loop, and then yarning over and pulling through both of those loops. That is your stacked double crochet, which is 2 single crochets on top of each other. Double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next. Remember, all sizes are going to have that repeat of row 1 and row 2. So your double crochet row and then your half double crochet row. Okay, that completes our double crochet row. So everyone's work should have a double crochet row, and then we're going to do our half double crochet row. Chain one, turn your work, half double crochet into every single stitch and every single chain space all the way down. And this is the last row that we are going to have right before we add our stitch so that we can work our neckline. Okay, so once we are completed with that half double crochet row right before your neckline, you've done all of your repeats, your double crochet, half double crochet, treble crochet, half double crochet, those 4 rows. You should have completed your repeats, worked up a double crochet row and half double crochet row. And now what you're gonna do is I will leave the stitch counts scrolling on the screen for where to mark your stitches. Okay, I have 21 here, so if you did customize your length, what you're going to do is take half of that amount, so half of the even number. So we started with 21, half of 20 is 10, and then we're gonna make it an odd number. So 11 stitches because I have this tiny swatch, but your stitches is gonna be scrolling on the screen. So I'm going to go down exactly from where my hook is. I'm counting. And it should be an odd number, and that's where I'm going to place my stitch marker. Once we've got that stitch marker placed, we're going to repeat the next row in our sequence. So the next row in your sequence, all sizes, is going to be your treble crochet row. So you're going to turn, work your stacked treble crochet, which is your 3 single crochets on top of each other. And we're going to work that all the way down to where your stitch marker is. Now this row is going to start and end just like all other rows, where you have 2 at the beginning and 2 at the end. So your first one should fall right before your stitch marker, and then your last stitch should be in your stitch marker. And of course we can move that now. So the smallest size is going to be, like the toddler size, is going to be the only one that just has this treble crochet row. And just hang tight for the toddler size, and I'll show you how to continue working and to attach it to begin the second panel. So for the other sizes, I'm going to leave the remainder of the stitch counts up here for you. So for example, the medium large child is going to have this row repeat, so row 3, and then you're also going to have row 4, so your half double crochet row, and then starting back at row 1, your double crochet, row 2, your half double crochet, and row 3, your treble crochet. No matter what size it's on, do the correct amount of repeats, and a treble crochet row is going to be the last one of your repeat to leave that opening for your neckline. So what you're going to do here is fasten your yarn and cut it. Now we're going to start on this side moving up. Okay, we're doing another foundation single crochet row, and then we're going to attach it to where we just cut our yarn. Okay, the reason I'm doing this instead of a chain is because there is a lot more give and elasticity on this side, as opposed to if you had a chain on this side, one side will be a lot shorter or tighter than this side. So now I'm going to leave the amount of foundation single crochets you are going to need to start with on your size. Now if you customized it, so for example, this is a customized 21 stitches across. I used 11 stitches, which will be just over half of the amount of your full row, which means that there are 10 stitches left here. That's what I will do my foundation single crochet as. You're going to do yours for whatever is listed on the screen. So I'm going to do 10 foundation single crochets. One, two, three,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
and 10. And now we're going to connect this foundation single crochet row to the top of here. So this is going to be like your half double crochet row, and then we're going to complete it out with half double crochets down to the end. Okay, so once you have completed that, you've got your foundation single crochet row. How we're going to attach that is to act as if we are going to start another foundation single crochet and do the first step of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our work, turn our work so that we're working in the same correct direction, and with our stitches still on our hook, with our 2 loops on our hook, we're going to go into the top of the last treble crochet that you made and pull through both of those stitches, and now we're going to finish out our single crochet. And that's how we're attaching it. And now we're going to finish out the half double crochets for that row, going all the way down. Now the only reason we didn't do a half double crochet foundation row is because I did find that it expanded a little bit too much. Now it could be my yarn, it could be my tension. If you want to do the half double crochet foundation row, you can go ahead and try it. I just found that it was a lot longer than just what we're working with here. So go ahead and finish out your half double crochet row, and this would technically be considered your row 4. Once you're done with that, we are going to finish out pretty much mirroring exactly what we started with in the beginning. So I will leave your repeat rows scrolling up on the screen. Turn your work. And from here, everyone's next row should be a double crochet row. So if you're looking in the back, your rows, your repeat rows should be like exact still. You should still have double crochet, half double crochet, treble crochet, and then completing, you know, half double crochet, double crochet, treble crochet for the amount of rows you need for your neckline. You've attached here with your half double crochet. Everyone's last row will be a treble crochet no matter how many rows you have in between, stopping for for the neckline, and then you will begin your double crochet row after that. So now repeating rows 1, 2, 3, and 4 the same amount of times that you did on this side, ending with a double crochet row. So I will leave the amount of repeats that you should have, which will be the same as the front. So I'm going to finish that out. You'll have your same repeats, and then I'm going to meet you back because everybody is going to end with a double crochet and then a half double crochet row. So you'll do all of your repeats and then repeat row 1 and 2 again. So I'm going to work out my 1 repeat like I have here, and then I'll meet you back after you have the same amount of repeats, and then I will work this row with you and show you how to do the border. Okay, so I have just completed a full repeat. So this is 1 repeat, and on this side I have 1 repeat. Now your size might have 2 repeats, 5 repeats, 7 repeats. It depends on your size, of course. You're going to have your repeats on this side, the amount of neckline that you need, and then the same repeats on this side. Now all sizes are going to finish repeating row 1 and row 2 again. So at the end of your panel, you should have a double crochet row and then a half double crochet row, just like how we started with here. So I am going to do my double crochet row and my half double crochet row. And that's going to be the last step of every size before we get to the border. So let me do my repeat of rows 1 and 2, which is your double crochet row and your half double crochet row. And then I will meet you back and teach you how to get started with the border. Once you complete these 2 rows, do not cut your yarn, because we're just going to work then in rounds and not rows. Okay, so go ahead and work those out and come back and I'll show you the next thing that we're going to do. Okay, so I just completed my row 1 and my 2 to finish out this side. Now remember, yours should look exactly the same on both sides. Of course, mine is an itty bitty tiny version, but this is what it should look like. Now to get started on the border, we are going to chain 1 and turn your work. And now we're going to work in rounds. So we're going to work down the side, down the front panel, or across the bottom of the front panel, up the front panel, around the neck, down the other side, across the bottom of the other side, over, and then back up. So we're working in a round all the way like this, and not in back and forth rows. So on the long side of your panel, we are going to half double crochet all the way down until we get to the bottom of your front panel. When you get to the last stitch of your front panel, when you get to that last stitch, we're going to put 3 half double crochets into that last stitch. So you're turning the corner. Now what you're going to do is chain 2. Now we're going to make a series of treble crochet V's, and we're only going to be working into your double crochet and your treble crochet rows. So you've got your chain 2, and we're going to work over the side of that first double crochet there, and we're going to put a treble crochet, chain 2, and another treble crochet. Now working straight over your treble crochet, not chaining in between, we're going to treble crochet over the side of our treble crochet, chain 2, treble crochet. So we're putting treble crochet V's with 2 chains in between into the side of every row. This one's only going to have 3 because it's a little itty bitty tiny one. But essentially, it's going to end up looking like this. So you've got your chain 2 and your treble crochet V's with those chain 2s in between. We're not chaining between our V's, we're only chaining in our V's. So treble crochet, chain 2, treble crochet in the same spot. Straight over, all the way down to the side. Okay. So on this little bitty doll one, I've got one left. And now we're going to end that side the same as we started it. So we're going to chain 2 and into our first stitch here, we're going to put 3 half double crochets. For each of our outside corners we're changing or turning, we're putting 3 half double crochets just in that first spot, and then we're going to half double crochet up the side. So 1 half double crochet into every single stitch. Okay, so I've gotten to the top here, and it looks a little bit confusing, like you can't really tell what is the starting and what is the stopping stitch. But remember that this middle part where your neckline is, because we have that 1 extra stitch, it's where your chain space is here. So as long as your last half double crochet falls above this double crochet, then you're good. So then you're just going to go straight into your treble crochet space. And what is going to happen here, it's kind of hard to show you on this one, so let me show you on the larger size one. So what you're going to do here on the side is we are working 3 half double crochets over the side of your treble crochet, 1 half double crochet over your half double crochet, 2 half double crochets over the side of your double crochet, 1 half double crochet on the side of your half double crochet, and then 3 half double crochets on the side of your treble crochet, and then moving up. So in this one, because I only have my treble crochet, I'm only going to be working 3 half double crochets over the side of that treble crochet. And then I'm going to move straight into the next unworked stitch. So this one is worked because it's got your treble crochet. Now this is the next unworked stitch, and that's where we're going to put our last or our first half double crochet going down the side. So working your half double crochet is now down that front side of the panel. When you get to your last half double crochet, that's where we will place 3 half double crochets. So here's my last one. And I'm going to put my 3 half double crochets into that stitch. Chain 2, and now I'm going to work my V's into the side of my double crochets and my treble crochets. So a treble V, now that I've gotten to the end of the bottom of that next front panel, I'm going to chain 2 and start going up the side here in my first stitch with 3 half double crochets. Turning all our corners with 3 half double crochets. 3, and now 1 half double crochet into the side of every stitch. And here I am at my last stitch, and again I'm going 3. 1, 2, 3, chain 2. Now we're going to be working down along the back to where we started. Treble crochet over the side of your double crochet. Chain 2, treble crochet in the same spot. Now moving to the next. Treble crochet, chain 2, treble crochet over the double.
Nice.
Now once you've done your last treble crochet V, we should be ending here right where we started, and we've already got 1 half double crochet there. So we're going to chain 2, come down and put 2 half double crochets exactly in the same spot that our first half double crochet is in. Slip stitch to your first stitch. And cut your yarn. And this is what your piece should look like before we get started on our tassels. Now, of course, I shouldn't have to keep saying this, but yours will look a lot bigger than mine. Large like this. Here's my neckline. And it's going to fold over. So once you complete yours, come back and I'm going to show you exactly how we are going to seam up the sides. Now this is also customizable. If you want it seamed all the way down, you don't want an opening, that's fine, you can do that. I have mine with an opening. I do think it looks better, so having an opening is a little bit more appealing in my eyes. And then you have your armhole. And of course, moving on to the other side. Same thing, our armhole, and we've seamed up part of the bottom. So go ahead and finish yours out, and I will meet you back to show you how to do this, and then I will show you how to add the fringes at the end. Okay, so once you're finished with your full panels, you're just going to fold it in half like this. I am going to leave, the size that I'm making as a large extra large, so I'm going to leave a 9-inch opening. Now here's where you can customize it. You can make a smaller opening, you can make a larger opening, and then what I've done here is I have counted 30 stitches up from the bottom and then 30 stitches out into the middle. That's leaving me 9 inches, and I am going to whip stitch mine together from here and leave the bottom separate. Now you can whip stitch it all the way down to the bottom if you like, whichever is going to be your preferred method. So I'm going to go ahead and whip stitch here from this stitch marker to this stitch marker, and then I'm going to count out and do the same thing on the other side. Now if you choose to whip stitch it from the bottom going up, just make sure that you give your counts so that way it's the same on both sides when you whip stitch it. So go ahead and sew your side up, and then I will meet you back to work on the fringe at the bottom. Okay, so we are going to get started on making the fringe, and I'm going to do 3 pieces into each one of these chain 2 spaces where the V's are after our treble crochet, and that's going to create our fringe on the bottom. Now the easiest way for me really is I want mine to be approximately 5 or 6 inches long. So you're going to measure out. It's about 10 inches there. That's a good length that I want, so you can choose whichever length that you want. And then all you're going to do is take that one and go to the next and just keep doing this until you have, you know, several pieces of fringes. Snip it off. Cut your ends on both sides. Cutting our ends on both sides. And then I'm just going to take my 3 pieces, grab a hook, fold those in half. So I'm going to go into my chain 2 space, grab my yarn and pull that through, and then basically just to make a chain. You can use a larger hook size, it'll probably be a little bit easier, but going from the back is going to help your fringes have the tie in the front. So just like this. And that's all I'm going to do into every chain 2 space. So I'm just grabbing my 3 pieces, folding it in half, going through the back of my next chain 2 space where my treble V stitch is, pulling the yarn through and then pulling it through again. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna do.
So go ahead and keep working your fringes in the bottom of both of your front panels and the bottom of your back panel. Once you are finished, if you do have Facebook, go ahead and find me in the Jolie Knots Crochet community. Show me what you've created, the colors that you've chosen, and check out the projects that everyone else has done. Thank you everyone for watching Jolie Knots Crochet, and I will see you next time.